I decided to take one of the hour-long cruises through Amsterdam. This charter charged only €10, and it was conveniently located near Amsterdam Central. This lovely old church is the Basilica of St. Nicholas, named after the patron saint of Amsterdam, and was built at the end of the 19th century. The architect designed the church based on a combination of several revival styles, the most prominent being Neo-Baroque and Neo-Renaissance. We sailed into the old inner harbour of Amsterdam. In the past, ships were docked and sheltered behind the locks. Many companies involved in shipping were also located in this area, like lumber yards, rope makers, and storage areas for tar used to protect the hulls of the wooden ships. Nowadays, this area is known as the New Market area. The Montalban Storm is an old defense tower on the banks of the Amsterdam Canal. The bottom part of the tower dates back to the 15th century, whilst the top part was added in the 17th century. The houses along the canals sport many different kinds of facades, but the most common are the stepped gable, the bell gable, the neck gable, the cornice gable, and the spout or funnel gable. I enjoyed watching the people relaxing on the banks of the canals as we cruised by. We moved into the Amstel River, which used to flow out into the sea and is one of the main routes for the annual Amsterdam Canal Pride Parade. Due to the flooding caused to the hinterland during storms, dams were built to protect the people living there, and is how Amsterdam got its name. As the people began to settle behind these Amstel dams, Amsterdam was born. The floating bicycle ships amazed me. As there are more bikes than residents in Amsterdam, bike parking can be very tricky, and so these boats alleviate the parking issue. Every day the municipality of Amsterdam removes many bicycles that are parked improperly. Many of the houses and buildings in Amsterdam are very narrow, as residents in the medieval period had to pay taxes based on the meterage of the facades facing the canals. Therefore, they tried to build houses as narrow and deep as possible. As doors and stairs in the houses are also very narrow, moving is usually done using the windows, and most of the buildings have a hoisting beam high on the facade. Due to a major housing shortage that faced Amsterdam in the past, people were forced to live on boats in the canals. These days the situation is very different, and houseboats are now highly sought after, and people are willing to pay considerable amounts for these floating houses. The boats are connected to all the necessary utilities. You can also see some great examples of the different kinds of gables mentioned earlier. This interesting building is the round former Lutheran Church, with its copper-domed roof. These days it serves as a cultural facility and congress center. In my video on a day in Amsterdam, I paid a visit to Amsterdam Central. Here you can see the backside of the station, which was opened to the public in 1889. It was built on an artificial island and has been expanded many times in order to keep up with the growing number of travelers. As there are no bridges that allow pedestrians and cyclists to cross this part of the river, the ferry crossing here is free. Amsterdam is a very popular destination for cruise ships, and these monsters may be docked here for a few days. The Nemo Science Museum proved to be a design challenge, as it needed to be built atop the IJ tunnel. Although it looks like a ship, it's meant to be a reflection, a mathematical mirror image of the traffic descending into the tunnel below. Where the tunnel goes down, the building goes up. This is a replica of an 18th century VOC ship, the ships used by the Dutch East India Company. Volunteers agreed to recreate the ship, and the project took 5 years to complete. found these cloud patterns exquisite, as I rarely see this type of formation of clouds streaking across the sky. This floating Chinese restaurant, the Sea Palace, is a copy of the famous Jumbo floating restaurant in Hong Kong. This restaurant only seats 700 people, which is a far cry from the 5,000 seats of its Hong Kong counterpart. Here we are back in front of Amsterdam Central. You can watch my video, A Day in Amsterdam, to see inside this incredible and massive building. It's time to settle back into the dock as our cruise comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed the tour, and thank you for watching.